Just take it away.
The best transition. Okay, so this is exciting. Disney is going to be making a remake of the movie Aladdin, a live show, right?
Woohoo! Yes, it's on Broadway right now.
So
which is awesome.
yeah, it's on Broadway. So they're getting ready to do the live production of this, and the issue is that allegedly they're having trouble finding a male actor to play Aladdin. So they're looking for an Indian or Arab actor for this role, and at this point the director has said that he may have 2 potential female actresses that are in the running here, but the male role has not yet been decided, and he says because it's been difficult to find an actor who can also sing who is of some sort of Indian or Middle Eastern descent. Well, of course, Twitter went crazy because there are many actors out there who can both sing and dance and act who are of some sort of Middle Eastern descent, and even the actors who are playing the Broadway rendition of Aladdin could potentially be somebody who could be in this pool.
And I'll have to confirm if they are
of Middle Eastern descent. So what we know so far about this live action film or live action production is that it's going to be directed by Guy Ritchie, who is also known for making Snatch, Robert Downey Jr.'s Sherlock Holmes, a couple of other things. They've already cast Will Smith as the genie, which is going to be huge. And then also Tom Hardy is rumored to play the villain Jafar in the movie. Also 2 females. Jafar. Okay. Yeah. 2 females that they are now potentially zeroing in on to play Jasmine, the Power Rangers actress Naomi Scott, and Tara Sutaria, who is also known for her Indian shows on the Disney Channel, a little younger. The men, though, they're looking for an actor in his 20s who can sing, and now Bollywood's going crazy because they're like, hello,
that's what we do.
Yeah, we have a lot of potential people who could do this for you.
This is what's so awesome about social media in this day and age, right? Everyone has an opinion. We get that. Opinions have always existed. But now there is this platform, a universal platform that everyone can hop onto and voice their opinion. And like Cornelia always says, if you want something to change, you got to speak up and you got to go against or for what you feel is right or wrong. And in this case, people on Twitter, I mean, there was even some verified people of dissent saying, hello, am I chopped liver? I'm right here. So the question is, how hard is Hollywood searching? What do you think the intent is?
Well, I just think it comes down to, it's similar as if you lived in a neighborhood and you've never met anybody of color. To you, you're like, well, this is my world. Like there's no qualified actors because in my world, there aren't any. The same thing happened with SNL when they were talking about the lack of a black female presence on the show. The casting people behind SNL were like, because there aren't any. And then every black actress with comedic timing, stand-up, improv training were like, hello, have you been to any shows on weeknight? There are plenty of us. So you kind of see the same thing happening with this, where it could just be as simple as in their world there aren't any.
Yeah. So we want to show you some of the Twitter comments because that's what's really driving the whole fuel behind the discussion now. So first, Jenny Yang put up on Twitter, really, you couldn't find anyone who could play this role, and then attached to that, which you don't see in this particular snapshot, there were a bunch of different actors that she added on from the Bollywood scene saying, hey, any of these will do. Also, a One Direction fan group is saying, how about Zayn Malik, who is Pakistani? Potentially.
Listen, he can sing, he can act.
Yeah.
They need someone to dance. He can dance. He was
get
part
the
of the
choreo
boy band. What's going on here?
And that who you're looking at is Dave Patel. He's a British actor, but born and raised in London to Indian parents.
Yes. Well, and I just saw Dev when he starred in Lion, which was an Academy Award nominated film last year. Amazing. Yes, he is British, but he is of the descent. So in this case, it's like, well, why? I want to know the bigger story. I want to hear from the studio. What do they mean when they say there isn't anyone out there? They're looking for that trifecta?
Right.
Or probably a name, because at the end of the day, so you
Well,
find
Dave Patel was in Slumdog Millionaire.
No, and honestly,
That's
when
a
this,
big name.
when I first heard about it in my social circles, the obvious conversation was, okay, cool, so Dev Patel and Priyanka Chopra. Done.
There you go.
That was it. It was like, okay, we've cast it. It's fine. It's going to be amazing. Can't wait to watch. And now we're here where we're hearing that they're having trouble. So that's
and there was one Twitter user whose comment I saw who said, we have no problem finding Indian actors or Middle Eastern actors to play the role of a terrorist in films, but when it comes to playing Aladdin, now we're having trouble. And to your point, Megan, you said it can't quite be apples to apples there because they're also looking for someone to sing and dance and do the other things.
Yeah, it's a good point, and I'm glad they made that point because it's true. It makes you think like, oh, when it comes to maybe profiling, it's much easier to find someone who fits that when you're primarily looking for the look. It is different because in this case a terrorist doesn't need to sing and dance and act and have comedic chops or whatever they're looking for. But this was interesting just to throw statistics out there in terms of diversity in Hollywood. So I went to school, University of Southern California, and one of my mass comm classes we did focus in on the lack of diversity in Hollywood. And so actually USC, shout out, they came out with these studies recently. So in a study of over 400 films and television series, University of Southern California found that over half didn't feature Asian speaking characters. USC's Annenberg School found that in 2014, only 5% of characters in film were Asian, while nearly 75% of characters were white.
Wow.
So it's interesting when you start looking at that, and also gender representation, right? You really, if you are ever interested, sit down and watch a film that you've seen hundreds of times, and then put on a different hat and look at it through the idea and through the perspective of, okay, how are they being represented, right? How are they being represented culturally as their gender? And you'll start to see like, wow, yeah, in the Latino community, in most films, they're being represented as the housekeepers, as the people who are mowing your lawn.
They're
stereotyping.
Over the top.
And so then that seeps into our brain over the course of time as human beings.
It's what we're being exposed to.
And then we get to be adults and we're like, but why do I know those stereotypes? That is learned. That is learned.
Representation matters. We've said this before. The way you see yourself on TV and in film starting as a child affects how you perceive yourself later on in life. And yes, family matters and education and whatnot, but the way you are depicted in front of your eyes on a daily basis affects how your mind is able to see your own self and your potential going forward. So that's the problem with lack of representation.
Right.
Just one problem, but it's a big issue.
And I remember we had a conversation a long time ago on Extra Shot about Friends and how everybody watches Friends and oh my gosh, it's such a great, sitcom that lasted many seasons. And then Keneally said she had never seen it, and everyone was like, "What do you mean?" And what was your response to that?
There was no one on that show that represented me. I couldn't identify, and I'm not saying that I don't only watch shows where I feel like I'm represented. I watched Sex and the City, and there was only probably throughout the whole series 2 or 3 black characters.
Right.
But I lived in New York City for a short period of time, well, not sure, about 5 years. I can identify with the plight of a transplant New Yorker living and dating and socializing in that space. So I could connect on a different level, but for Friends, I just couldn't lock in for something. And speaking